Hello, and thank you for coming to the McWaters Effect. I'm your host, Matt. Today we're going to be talking about the Derek Chauvin trial, and the verdict was guilty. But first, I need you to hit like and subscribe. Helps the channel grow. Now let's get on with the show. You know what I'm hoping is going to happen after this? I'm hoping that we'll have a deep conversation not about African Americans being hunted by cops, because that's not true. I want to have a deep conversation about police brutality in general. If you look at the last 5 years, 1,449 African Americans have been killed by cops unarmed. That's the last 5 years. All right. You look at white people, 2,885 were killed by cops unarmed. You look at Hispanics, 1,057 killed unarmed. Then you look at other, which would be Asians, Native Americans, so on and so forth, 238. That's the last 5 years. Count all that together, it's almost 6,000 people. And they're unarmed. I don't see it as a race issue. This is a lack of police training and police ability to read a situation. That's what it is. Until the mainstream media is actually willing to admit that and not only show when a black man is killed by a cop unarmed, but show white men, Hispanics, Asians, Native Americans as well, then you're not going to have equal justice in the United States. I'm sorry, you're not. You're going to have mob rule like you're doing right now. That's the truth. I know it's not the popular thing to say, but hey, fuck it. If you don't like it, you don't have to listen to what I'm saying. All I'm saying is I don't believe it's a race issue. I believe it has more to do with police brutality, and some people become cops that have no business becoming cops. You know, they're picked on when they were kids, and then all of a sudden they got big and bad when they got older, and they became a cop and took it out on the whole world instead of went to therapy and took care of it that way. When I watched the trial, I'll be honest with you, I was surprised he got convicted. I was assuming the worst thing he might get is get convicted for manslaughter. And it's because there's a lot of reasonable doubt with the rest of it. It didn't have conclusive evidence that because of him being on his neck, back, shoulder, whatever you want to call it, caused the asphyxiation and killed him. There was no 100% conclusive evidence that is what caused his death. I was assuming it was either going to be a hung jury, not guilty, or maybe manslaughter. Now, what I'm going to talk about the rest of the video is what I think is going to happen next, and I think there's going to be an appeal process, and I think they got a pretty good case for an appeal. Now, I'm going to start going over that. Now, one of the things I could think of is what Maxine Waters did when she went down to Minnesota and Brooklyn Center and was there to protest and said what she said about they need to be more confrontational if they don't get the verdict they want. And it sounded like a threat, and so I'm sure his lawyers are going to file appeal for that being one of the things that could have caused him for be convicted. But there's several other things I found in papers and people have said that could also cause it. First thing is this one right here. 3 House Democrats joined protesters in Minnesota. Now, they missed a vote for the COVID vote to Washington. They had to use proxies. But they went down there to protest. It shows more bias from the Democrats that they want to get involved with the judiciary system instead of allowing the process go naturally and work itself out. I understand why Ilhan Omar was there. She's actually from Minnesota. She was elected in Minnesota, so that is her constituency. I understand why she's there. But the other two, Joyce Bithy and Stella Jackson Lee, I don't understand why they're there. One's from Ohio and one's from Texas. It doesn't really make sense why they're there and how they would help anything. And here's another story by CNN, and it's from Joe Biden. The Derek Chauvin trial. Biden says the evidence is overwhelming. I'm praying that the verdict is the right verdict. Well, I got a question for him. What is the right verdict in your opinion? Oh, wait a minute. Here's another story. Oh, right here. Biden says he's praying for a guilty verdict. Are you serious? He says this when he knows the jurors will be able to see this. Both these quotes, the jurors saw. Guaranteed. Because the fact is, if they're not sequestered, they're going to see stuff like this, whether it be on their phone, computer, TV, whatever it might be. That's why the jury need to be sequestered. Then you got this article here. It's from the Insider. What we know about the 7 women and men deliberating in the Derek Chauvin murder trial. Throughout this article, They tell you what the sex of people are, what their professions are, how many kids they have, whether or not they're married or single. A whole list of shit about each person. The only thing they don't give is the names, where they work at, and addresses. It's not quite doxing, but it's close. Bullshit. It's too much information for people to know. They don't need to know this stuff about the jurors. And there's other stuff. Perfect example is how the state already gave the family $7 million in a civil court case. That happened before the trial. Normally the trial goes first before the civil case. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, well, how's he supposed to get a fair trial that way? The state's already said, hey, we're negligent. This is how we trained them. If what Biden said wasn't such a big deal, why did Cruz, who is a lawyer and a constitutional lawyer at that, comes out and says Biden comments on the trial and what the verdict should be is grounds for mistrial? He's 100% correct. The president coming out and giving his opinion what the verdict should be is grounds for a mistrial. But of course, that ain't what happened. Now, don't get me wrong. Should he go to jail for what he did? Yeah. But should be for 30 years? No. There is reasonable doubt that he died because of Derek Chauvin's actions. It could have been from the drugs he ingested. He ingested 4 times the amount a human being can live through. And those drugs he ingested can stop you from breathing. So how's that not reasonable doubt? Is all I'm saying. And then think about it. How many people are going to want to be cops after this? I get trained a certain way at the police department. I use those training methods to subdue someone. They died while I'm subduing them, and I go to prison for using the stuff they taught me to use to subdue people. How many people are going to want to become cops? None of them. Matter of fact, I guarantee you, most of those cops around the United States, most of them are seeing that trial, and they're probably thinking, well, I might as well quit because if I was in the same situation, I might have done the same thing. The fact is, we're all human beings. We all make mistakes. We all do stupid shit. What he did, was it stupid? Yeah, there's a whole list of other things he could have done differently. But was George Floyd innocent of everything? No. He shouldn't have resisted arrest. He should have just let him handcuff him, put him in the car, let him take him to the hospitals because he just overdosed on some drugs and he would survived. But instead, he decided to fight the cops, wouldn't get in the car, and this is the situation they're in. In Minneapolis, a fortified city waiting on Chauvin's verdict. Well, we already know what the verdict is. How are the protesters going to act after that? We don't know. What would make sense is they would actually calm down, go home, and chill out. But what more likely is going to happen is they're going to be more emboldened and keep doing what they're doing. Matter of fact, they might escalate it. I don't know, but hopefully not. Look, I don't want anybody to get me wrong. Do I think this cop, Derek Chauvin, is an idiot? Fuck yeah, he's an idiot. But do I think George Floyd's a fucking idiot? Yeah, he's a fucking idiot too. And what you had right there was you had 2 idiots clash and 1 died. That's what you had there. Now it's made where the whole country acts like a bunch of damn idiots instead of looking at stuff logically. Logic will tell you by that court case there was reasonable doubt. I watched the whole thing and it wasn't just me that thought so. Several others thought so too. I'm not going to name names, but I know there's several others that thought the same way as I did. I mean, I was assuming that he was just going to get manslaughter. But he got convicted for all 3. That's fine. Does it affect me that he goes to prison? No, I don't care one way or other. But will it affect me because cops aren't going to want to join, people aren't going to want to join the force because they're looking at this and they're saying, nah, I ain't doing that. I'm going to go and train to protect and serve, and then when I use my training and someone happens to die and then I get convicted and go to prison for an accident, no, I'm not doing that. Fuck that shit. I wouldn't do it either. I don't blame them. Who would? And the next question you gotta ask is going to be appealed, and how far is it going to go, and what happens if it's overturned? Serious possibility, but who knows how long it'll take to get appealed. It could take years to get appealed. And the fact is, if you count all the amount of time, it's about 30 years, how long he's going to be in prison. And he's a well-behaved, modeled prisoner, he might be out in 20. That could be enough for the mob. That's the question. I don't think it will be, but who knows? I don't know. I'm just reading between the lines. I'm trying to read people's minds. I don't know what they're thinking. I know what I'm thinking. I know I don't want to be a cop, I'll tell you that. I don't want to have anything to do with law enforcement. I don't see why anybody would want to have anything to do with law enforcement after this shit. And the fact is, we're a nation that has lost ourselves in the mob mentality. And more we lose ourselves, the more and more United States looks less like the United States, and we look more and more like China. You know, and first step of how this happened is the media. We lost the media. And what I mean by we lost the media, we lost the media for them to actually go out and tell the truth and be honest. They're perfectly willing to show bias all the time, but it's only on one side. Especially CNN, MSNBC. Fox News does it too, except it's on the right side. There's no one honest about what's actually happened and what could be done to change things. I mean, I was listening to pundits. They said if he got found not guilty, it could start a race war. That's crazy. People that say stuff like that are crazy. It could start a civil war. What? I think what would start a civil war is actually going after the Second Amendment, going after people's right to free speech, things like this. It's just that you had loudmouths like Maxine Waters and Joe Biden. Some other senators and House members that couldn't keep their mouths shut and mind their business. If you got something to say, you say it after the verdict. You don't say it before. Do things that make sense. Try to bring the United States back together. Try to get people to get along again. This is not the way to do it by creating more division. That's all I'm saying. All right, guys, I'm at the part of my video where I do the quote of the day. Whatever you are, be a good one. Abraham Lincoln. Alright guys, that's the end of my video. Hope you liked it. Please hit like and subscribe. Helps the channel grow. Don't forget, share the video. That helps the channel grow as well. Peace.